Now that we've done this, let's go back to the survey editor. Let's say that I want to ask the question about what I ate this morning, not only if answer great was selected, but also if fine or okay were selected. So what we can do now is we go to our condition that qualifies whether or not this question is asked, and rather than have it be equal to 5, we'll say if it's greater than 2, the value of answer not so great, or alternatively we could say greater than or equal to 3. You'll notice that I don't click save on anything. That's because with the survey editor, anytime I make a change, that change is automatically recorded in the database. There's no need to click an update or save button. Go back to my surveys. And now we'll see that because even though I selected fine, this time the what did you eat this morning question is selected. If I click OK, it's still selected. If I click not so great, now it's no longer enabled. So great, fine, OK, but all three of them, because they have values of 3 or greater, cause the subsequent question to be asked, but not so great and really bad don't cause that question to be asked. I can build my conditions up. So for example, we had really bad. Let's say we want to ask some questions about not so great. So the first we can do is we select the not so great. We'll put a tag in for it. And the tags I'm entering in, they're not necessary to you if you're creating your surveys to be read and have data entered, but where they become quite handy is when you're doing reports. The tags provide kind of a brief version of the question or answer that will show up in a condensed report. So not so great, we want to ask if that answer is selected, we want to ask some additional questions. So let's make the first one a question about what you did the previous evening. So what did you do last night? And this one we're going to make a single selection. And we'll add some answers. Watched TV. Read a book. Partied with my friends. So now what this does is it lets us have a single selection from multiple choices in the case that not so great is selected. What if I wanted to identify the friends if the subsequent answer is partied with friends? The way I would do this is not to continue building down the hierarchy, because the system won't let you do that because it would cause the system to slow too much since it's a database-based system. However, what we can do is we can assign values to each of these questions, each of these answers. So watch TV we'll leave as 1. We'll make read a book 2. And we'll make partied with friends 3. We go back up to not so great, and we're going to add yet another subsequent question. In this case, we'll say, who did you party with? And we'll make this one a multiple selection answer. And we'll have a couple answers added. So friends from work. My girlfriends. My guy friends. And let's say mom and dad. Okay, in this case now, if I were to just go to the answer page again, so let's go ahead back and look at that. We go to my surveys, We click the first form. We select not so great. And what we see now is that both subsequent questions are asked because they're both dependent upon not so great having been selected. We'll also see that the first set has a circles next to each answer, which means only one of them can be selected, whereas the second question has multiple selection boxes. So what would happen now if I really only wanted to ask who did you party with if the first question were answered with partied with friends? We'll go back to the survey editor. And remember that we associated a value with each of these answers, 1, 2, and 3. The default dependency for a subsequent question is basically the answer above it having been selected. However, we can override that by saying, in this case, 3015 is the question just before it. And we say if 3015 is equal to 3. What this does now is it says, first of all, ask what you did last night only if you answered not so great. And then if you select question 3 or the value of 3, partied with friends, then go ahead and ask the question, who did you party with? We go back. We click the My First Form. And now we select read a book. And you'll see that the subsequent one goes away. So if I'm feeling great, question number 2 shows up. Fine, question number 2. Okay, question number 2. Not so great. All right, question number 2 is disabled. However, I ask another question. Well, what did you do last night? I respond with read a book, and I'm done. I respond with partied with friends, and now I ask yet another question.